Action!
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of All Talk. My name is Mike All. Thank you so much for being here. Excited about this comedian that we have on today. I always say everybody's very funny, but this dude's hilarious. I've known him for a long time, like before children, long time, like way before children. So he's a Denver comic, but he travels the world doing shows. He does a show on Tuesday and Fridays on his Facebook page, and with Lamont Ferguson that is really, really good. He's been on Showtime, A&E, BET, travels the world for USO tours. We can go on and on and on and on about it. But instead, let's just meet him. Please welcome Lewis Johnson. What's going on, Lou?
Mike All, man, always appreciate when anybody remembers me for anything. So thank you, man. Thanks for giving me the chance to come in and talk with you, bro.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to see you and get caught up. Wow, excuse me.
Don't worry, man. I can't catch it from here. It's good.
Exactly. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about is I've known you for a long time, and you were always a nationally touring headliner. You were traveling all over the place. You're doing the USO tours and everything. But about 6-7 years ago, you switched over to almost a full-time cruise comedian. I know you still work a lot in Denver when you're home, but you work a lot of the cruises. What kind of made you go the way of the cruise? I know money is typically a factor in a lot of that, but is it more your style of show? What was it that kind of drew you to that?
Well, I still did a lot of club work. I still do a lot of club work, but the thing with cruises was that there was a shift. I mean, I started working ships a long time ago, but there was a shift in the comedy scene on the cruise ships where they started doing shows where they allowed you to just do exactly what you do in a nightclub.
Right.
And so with that freedom and plus the money that they paid, I just stopped doing certain clubs. Because that was the thing about working cruise ships is that we always said it gave you fuck you money.
Yeah.
Where you could just look at certain clubs and you wouldn't tell them because smart people don't burn the bridge. But in your head, you look at certain clubs and you say, fuck you. I'm not coming back for that money. You've been paying the same money for 20 years. And then you want to tell me, I'm going to give you a $50 raise. It's like, really? I'm making 3 times as much on the ship, and I get to do shows the same as if I was in the nightclub.
Yeah.
And what happened was when I first started doing ships, I started on Carnival, and now I've subsequently worked for like 4 different cruise lines, and I stayed with 2 of them mainly. And but when I first started working Carnival, it was wild, Mike. My first week on the ship was spring break out of Miami on Carnival, doing 3 and 4 night cruises out of there on spring break. So, bruh, yeah. And this was back before Carnival had moved all their fly-on acts to to crew cabins, because now everybody on Carnival they stay in a crew cabin, but back then you were in passenger cabin, so it was bananas. It was crazy. But then they used to do a thing where you do like your like a welcome aboard show, or you do like a main show.
Right.
So the main show is like about 45 minutes, and you do 1 at 7, 1 at 9. And then either that night at midnight or the next night at midnight, they move you to the back lounge and you do your adult comedy show, which was basically your nightclub show that you do in in the comedy clubs on land. But then Carnival did this thing where they saw that, and this was all, what do you call it? Bean counters, accountants. You know how they run, man.
Oh yeah.
They started looking at what was making the most money on the ships, and the bar tabs for the casino and the comedy nights were through the roof. So Carnival took all their back lounges and turned them into comedy clubs at night. So overnight, they became the biggest bookers of comedians in America and possibly the world. Because if you got 24 ships, I think they had 24 ships. So imagine that 24 ships, and you have between 2 to 6 guys working each cruise, each week.
Damn.
Yeah, so that came out, and so with all of a sudden you just did you did 2 family shows and 3 adult shows, and you could have the 2 family shows could be the same, and the 3 adult shows could be the same material, but it was since it was a smaller room, it's not the 1,500 seat room. All of a sudden now it's like the 300 and 400 seat room. People have to wait to get in, so they would turn the audiences so you could do the same show. Although what happened subsequently was a lot of guys just started doing like 5 different shows because we're comics and we're egoists. We're egotistical assholes. And even if you don't have 5 shows, guys were doing 5 shows, and it was like, dude, you don't have 5 shows, bruh. You're just doing, the shows.
Are you doing 45? Are you doing 45?
No, those shows. The shows in the comedy clubs on the ships are usually 30 minutes. You do 30 minutes. So you had a lot of guys that were just doing 15 minutes of material and 15 minutes of crowd work, and then they said they have 5 different shows. It's like, no, motherfucker, you just got you did 5 shows, yeah, but you didn't do 5 different shows except for the crowd work. But hey, that's their thing. And then Royal Caribbean jumped in, and they started a dedicated comedy club on their bigger ships, because they have some ships that have like 5,500 people on it, but the comedy club's only 120 seats.
Oh, damn.
So, but the cool thing is, like, say if they would bring 2 comics on, so it would be me and you, and each one of us would do 20 to 25 minutes. We'd be on the same show. And we flip-flop every night, or we just figure out who wants to go first, who wants to go last. However the comics want to do it. And those shows, you would love those, man, because you only do 1 family show in the week. You probably do. I like doing a lot of shows. A lot of guys complain about it, but on those big ships, it's only 120, 130 seats. So you would do anywhere from 12 to 16 shows in 1 week.
Wow.
But you're only doing 25 to 30 minutes each show. So, and mainly they just want you to do 20 minutes each, because the show's only supposed to be 50 minutes. And so you got a show at 8, 1 at 10, 1 at midnight. And it was only 1 family show. So the rest of the shows, bro, you could do whatever you wanted. As long as it's funny, you do whatever the hell you want. I mean, and we've had some crazy shit happen, Mike. I'm telling you, man.
Well, I've seen some of the videos you've posted, and what's crazy to me is I don't consider you like a crowd working comedian. Like, you've got really good material that you've worked on and you've honed, and it's good material.
Yeah, still
but
right.
I'd be lying. You're still right, but I'd be lying if I didn't say when I'm watching those videos that you love crowd work, right? Like, I was talking to, I interviewed a couple episodes ago, my buddy Nate Wetterup, who you've worked with several times.
Yeah, I was there when Nate worked his first ship. Yeah.
So the craziest that Nate told me, he said he loved working with you because he loved sitting in the back of the club, and you'd be going about your material, but he could see it in your eyes, like you were looking for that person that was going to be the one that you were going to work. And he was like, when you spotted that person, he was like, he would just sit back and cross his arms and be like, here we go.
But I'll make one adjustment to that. Is that I was never actually looking for the person. My thing has always been, I don't want to actively look for a person.
Mhm.
But like Nate says, what would happen is somebody would say something out of the ordinary, and then my antenna would go, huh? And then I would just lock in on them. And my thing has always been, not always, but in the past few years, I decided to look at crowd work a different way, because there's so many. I heard one of your other guys was talking about this. There's so many purists
Right.
that think stand up has to be a certain way. And I'll tell you a story about who changed my whole idea about being a purist. I'll tell you that later. But what happened was with crowd work, I figured I want to ask people different questions. I don't want to ask them, where you from, what's your name, who you from, where you from, what do you do for a living. I started compiling questions in my head and on paper from different sites, on existential questions and just different stuff, because I wanted to go a different route with it. I wanted people to I wanted their brain to work on it.
Right.
So instead of asking them where you're from, what do you do for a living, I'd say, I said, so you got kids, really? So, and I'd say, oh, so tell me this, what do you think you owe to your children?
Right.
All right, ask somebody, so when you die, what do you want your friends to remember about you? So I'd ask stuff like that.
That's
because
deep,
man. I want them to go the other way. I don't want them to just go, yeah, I'm Joel. I work at the plant, and because that's easy stuff to go for.
Right. Is it hard to work a crowd? What's the difference between working a crowd on a cruise ship and working a crowd in a comedy club? Is there a difference?
Not really. I mean, except lately you got a lot more vocal Trump supporters. I mean, Obama supporters were vocal, but they weren't dangerous like Trump supporters are on the ships. Those people will follow you around the ship, or whenever they see you, they want to start talking their bullshit. But there's really no difference, because though I think those guys they make it a difference in their own head. You have to think of an audience as an audience. And I learned a long time ago, you learned a long time ago, you can only make them sound like what they are.
Right.
you have to recognize what's happening in the room. And man, I learned from all the guys, man, that you have to pay attention. You have to. I mean, I'm one of the guys, I will actually try to be there to watch the whole show. And I know there's a lot of guys, you've interviewed a lot of guys, and they've said, oh, you got to get on stage as much as possible and do your thing and learn your craft. And I'm like, that's bullshit. Sometimes you learn just as much by sitting and learn and just watching.
Do you watch a lot of comedy, like even now with having to be at home and sat or on the ship? Are you turning on Netflix and watching the latest whatever that came on? Are you a connoisseur of comedy just all the time?
I love watching stand up. That's the one thing about me that's always been weird, is that I love the business of stand up, and I love the performance side of stand up. I mean, and Comedy Works, man. There's times when I would slip into the Comedy Works in Denver, and I try to just come in and just walk and go to a spot in the back, because I just want to watch the show.
Yeah.
I mean, I've before one of our guys, Deacon David Gray, passed away. One of my favorite things to do was to slip in on the Pro-Am night, which Deacon was running, and I sit in the back with him, and we'd watch stand up.
Yeah.
And he would say to me, he'd go, watch this guy. You're going to love this guy. Or he would go, oh, this guy needs some work, but I think it's going to be good. It was always a positive thing.
Yeah.
And
I remember.
Go ahead. I'll just say, I don't think people, I don't think a lot of comics in Denver, a lot of comics in general don't remember how deep of a student that Deacon Gray was of stand-up comedy.
Oh, I agree. He was a student. And the great thing about him, sorry, excuse me, great thing about him is not only was he a student of comedy, he was an amazing teacher of comedy too. A lot of people didn't see that either. They didn't always like him. But I remember being removed from the Denver comedy scene, being out here in Chicago, that he would call me. We talked at least once every 2 weeks, if not more. But there were times where he would call me, and I'll never forget, like, he would say, man, so-and-so is the biggest asshole. I hate dealing with this kid coming up. They're such a prick. They're such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, well, then why are you dealing with it? And he'd go, because goddamn, he's funny and he deserves to be heard, you know? And it's just like, it was amazing to hear him say shit like that. He was like, this guy's an asshole, but God, he's funny and everybody should hear his point of view. You know, man. Like that was the amazing thing about him. Like
there's a few people like that. I've only had beef with a couple of people in my life in comedy, and but they were funny guys, you know.
You get
so I could put up with them, but man, assholes. But yeah, there was.
Have you guys stuck with an asshole on a cruise ship? Another comedian that was an asshole on a cruise ship that you're like, man, I got to be out in the middle of the ocean with this dude for a week.
Nah, not yet. I mean, and I've been stuck out there with guys who are Trump supporters, and I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I just know bullshit when I see it, right?
Right.
So, but I've been out there with guys who are straight up hardcore Trump supporters, and what I do is I know where they are, I know where their head is, and either we just don't interact that much during the week, or we get along on other points, because once again, we're still comedians, and you know, we're a species, bro. We are a definite species. There is people. I don't think people understand the difference, the comics, how different we are than other people. I mean, dude, you've been on the road, you've seen it. You've been in the place when the club will say, "Hey, the other act's coming in. You got a car? Can you drive over to the airport and pick him up?" And you're like, "All right." You don't even ask what the guy looks like or what she looks like. You just know you're going there to pick up a comic. You park, or you pull up into the pickup lanes, and you look for somebody, and you know automatically who the comedian is as soon as you see him. It's like we have an invisible aura around us that says, this motherfucker right here. I don't know how many times either I've picked up somebody or I've been picked up, and there was no words. It was just like, hey, okay. And then
off we go.
And you can always tell the guys who are going to be amazing on stage.
What was the tell to you that you could tell someone was going to be amazing on stage?
That in the car, they had regular conversation.
Yeah.
If the guy if he didn't just start off, if he didn't crack jokes from the time you picked him up to the time you got to the condo and you went to your room to get away from his ass, if he was just regular conversation, you're like, oh, this dude is going to put in some work.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people like that, man. I remember right before Tommy Davidson was huge. I remember we got put into a gig in Omaha, and we were on the plane the whole time together. I didn't even know. We get to the thing. This is right before he got in Living Color, and we get to the airport. We land, we get out, and as we're walking out, I'm like, hey, how you doing? How you doing? He says, you a comic? Yeah, I'm a comic. Oh, we must be at the, and we knew right away, right? And we just had regular conversation. And yo, Mike, that dude, from day one has been a beast.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember him going on stage that night and just blowing the roof off. And this is Omaha. So that's one I learned from watching. There's certain people, man, that just...
Dude, so you've done a ton of touring with the cruise ships and everything, but you also did like 20 plus USO tours.
Some of the best times ever.
Yeah, what's that? what drew you to the USO tour? Is there something more than just the comedy and just the money, obviously? Um, and and can you get away with crowd work at a USO tour the way that you can somewhere else, or are they expecting just material they don't want to be fucked with?
Yeah, you can. I lucked out, man. What happened was a friend of mine was doing these tours, and he said you should send the stuff in to the USO, and it just so happens that I had already sent it in, right? And when he was telling me, and he's like, I'll call him and tell him to look out for your stuff, and all this stuff happened. These occurrences happened at the same time, and they just when he called, they just happened to have my stuff on their desk, and I get a call, and they hook it up, and it was great times, man.
Where'd you
People
go?
everywhere, UAE, Dubai, Kuwait, Bosnia Herzegovina. Just only place we didn't go was we didn't get to go to Africa. There was a couple of countries in Africa we were supposed to go to, but the unrest was too much, and that was a funny one because I think it was 2 or 3 weeks before we were supposed to go to this one country in Africa. They said the tour has been changed. They don't want to have any civilians in the area, so we've changed your tour to Iceland. And I'm like, really? How do you switch Iceland for like an African country? It's a total fucking opposite. I'm like, it was weird. It was weird. There was a few places where it was just crazy. I went to Belgium once.
Yeah.
And Belgium was weird because in Belgium, Santa Claus and his helpers are black.
Mm-hmm.
So there's pictures of all these, there's black guys in Santa Claus suits. So you're walking through there, and these little kids are looking at you thinking you're going to be bringing a present to them or something. And they think, oh, it's either that's Santa or that's one of his elves. It was this crazy shit. But I remember I did a tour once, man, and this shows you how we as men just have no what is it? We have no sensitivity. We have no real sensitivity.
Sure.
Okay, because it was I was on tour. It was myself, Bob Kubota, and Francis DiLorenzo. Right?
Okay.
And we were in, I think it was Turkey or something like that. And what happened was we get to the hotel, and the guy says, the guy who's running the tour says, I need you to take your stuff to your room. I want you to pack up a backpack tonight, something that you can live out of for the next 4 days, but you can carry on your own. Because what he was going to do, we leave our main stuff in that hotel, and then they were going to fly us downrange, and we were going to do 3 to 4 days worth of shows in all the little satellite bases. So all you needed was that backpack, because they wanted to move, because it was Blackhawks and Chinooks. And we were either in the Blackhawk, or we were comfortable in that Chinook, which is like the Cadillac of
those things are huge.
Oh, and they ride smooth as hell too. But the Blackhawk guys, those guys are cowboys. They're crazy, man. I remember once we were in there, and the guy goes, "Hey, y'all want to see something cool?" And me and Kubota are like, "Yeah." And DiLorenzo's like, "No." And he goes, "Watch this," and he goes, boom, straight up like 800, like that, and shit is floating in the air, like woo. And DiLorenzo just goes, she just takes her helmet off and goes, oh. But here's the not I mean, that's insensitive, but here's the insensitivity of men. We do that tour, that part of the tour, 3 or 4 days, and we come back to the main hotel in a nice big city. And we meet up with another tour that's passing through the area. So now you got 3 tour managers, you got a bunch, two bands of comedians, and then there's a band, an actual band that's traveling too around the region. So there's a bunch of us all sitting there, mainly men. And Frances comes down, and you could tell she's been crying. And she sits down with us. Everybody's looking at her like, okay, what's going on? She goes, can I ask you guys something? How do you do it? Just being away from the family for so long, how do you do it? I mean, I just talked to my husband, and I told him, we were downrange for the last 3 days, and we were down there, and we had to take helicopters everywhere, and I just felt so bad, so rough, and all he could say to me was, "You got to go on a helicopter?" Your wife is calling you on the verge of crying from 10,000 whatever fucking miles away. And all you can, I think, to ask her is, "You got to go on a helicopter?"
I don't know that it would be my first question, but it would probably be in my top 3.
Exactly. So what kind of helicopter was it? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, dude, we saw some wild stuff. I got to see the stealth fighters,
Yeah.
back when they weren't supposed to be showing them to anybody. I got a photo of it, but they wouldn't let you touch them because apparently there's something in the coating that if you expose to it for too long, it gives you cancer. So I'm like, oh, that's great.
That's great.
which is why those guys are in spacesuits when they're flying that damn thing. But okay,
it also explains why it can't be seen. It's fucking
exactly. Exactly. You know what you say. You got to see the stealth fighter.
It's funny too. Like I'm sitting here thinking, like I would, if before quarantine and lockdown, talking about being away from my kids or my family for a long time, I'd have been like, yeah, that's kind of rough. I could be locked down with these motherfuckers for 3 months. I'm like, put me on the Chinook.
Yeah. I'm lucky, man. All my kids are grown and got their own places. So yeah, I'm just down here in the bunker by myself, man. So I'm good.
Oh man.
My house is split, dude. It's like this. It's nice to be down here because we watch different television.
Right.
You go upstairs, that's like a conservative bastion. You come down here, it's a liberal dugout.
Well, it's weird. I'm surprised to hear that she's like conservative because, like you said, like I know you're because I've known you for a long time. I know that you have your issues with Democrats, and I know that you have your issues with Republicans. But I will say that. But you're also very political at the same time. Like,
I'm a straight up independent that leans to the left, but my political view has been and always will be that both parties suck. Both parties are standing in pools of their own shit, but the Democrats are wearing hip waders. The Republicans are wearing chest waders. So both of them suck. One sucks a little more than the other one, but they both suck ass.
It was interesting on you and Lamont's show the other day. You had Alonzo Bowden on. I'm a huge fan of Alonzo Bowden.
Yeah.
Not just his comedy, but I'm a big fan of TYT. I watch the Young Turks all the time, and I know he's part of them. Do you follow the Young Turks? Are you more progressive like that, or are you still more centric and
Oh no, I like the Young Turks. I haven't watched them in a while though, but I've known Alonzo for a long time. And one of my first USO tours was me and Alonzo and Mike Burton.
Oh wow!
And it was just an amazing show.
Was Alonzo always political?
Dude, yeah, he's always had that point, that strong point of view.
Yeah,
always had a strong point of view. I remember, I think I told this story on the chat that I do. Was we were in, I think it was Kuwait, and Mike Burton was like the king of. You couldn't come back on him. He would just be putting you down, and and dogging you out, and you could get your couple of little weak comebacks on him, but he's still just crushing you, with his put downs. It was like, fucking Don Rickles' son is in the damn van with you, right? He's just putting you down. But Alonzo cracked the code one day. We were walking through Kuwait, and Burton's just cracking on everybody. And Alonzo goes, man, if you keep it up, I'm going to yell, infidel, and point right at you. because Burton was always scared of them finding out that he was Jewish. So, in Kuwait, that's not a good thing to be.
No.
But he would always exhibit his Jewish side, and I know that's probably going to sound racist or whatever or biased. When he would go into a store, and everybody else is paying what they want, whatever the person wants for that, but he would just sit there and haggle with the person. We're like, dude.
But don't they haggle in that part of the country, in that part of the world anyway? Isn't that like part of the whole sale anyway?
Yeah. But he was so good at it, man. It was just everybody else was just you try to do the one thing. They go, it's $25. You go, how about I give you 20? And they go, and then they go, okay, but Mike could get them from 25 down to 15 to 10. Let me just let Burton just buy all of our shit from now
on. I remember one time I was haggling with somebody. I was trying to buy. They were going out of business. I was trying to buy this frame. It was a $500 frame, handmade. It was beautiful, and they already had it marked down to $150 because they were trying to get rid of it. And I'm like, I'll give you $100. And they were like, no. I'm not getting. It's already marked down to $150, and I'm going back and forth with them. I'm like, look, I got 100. I'm only giving you 100 and everything, and they were going to do it. And I was like, then I remembered the word that I was forgetting to say. I was like, it's cash, and she goes, sold. She thought I wanted to buy this shit on a card. I'm like, no, man, I got American dollars.
You put cash up to somebody in there right away, man. That's like, boom. I remember there was a couple of cruise ships like that where guys had to learn. They had to learn. One of the ships you'd have to give up. One of the cruise lines you have to give up. I think it's like 20% of your sales because they're all on slips. Everybody fills out a slip, and then they put it on their card, and they get charged at the end of the cruise. But then they had to learn because people come up to you, go, "Hey, look, I just rather give you the cash." And you had stupid guys that would go, no, you got to be on a slip, and it's just fill that out, and it goes to your card. Yeah. After a few times to turn it down, about $60 to $100 worth of cash, you just go, okay, here's a CD or here's the DVD, and this movie you put it in your pocket.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like everybody talks about trying to go to cards and more digital and everything. Cash will always speak, man. Cash is instant.
Yeah.
Right in.
Unless you're at Walgreens and you're sitting behind some woman who's paying for was that 47 cents? You don't have 47 cents in your damn pocket, woman. Come on now.
I got caught behind someone at the grocery store the other day writing a check.
I haven't seen that in forever. For real, a check?
Yeah. I mean, I don't even pay my rent with a check. It's all done digitally. Like, I don't do anything. Like, we have checks, but like, I don't, like, I'm literally still on like check number 140.
We don't write checks right here. If somebody needs some, we'll either go to a grocery store, get a money order if they want it like that, or just go to the bank and just have them cut us a check.
Yeah.
I haven't written a check. I don't even think I can find a box of checks around here. It's like maybe some old checks from 10, 20 years ago, but damn.
Comedy clubs still paying checks though. And it's what cracks me up about being in a green room when the manager brings you that check. And what's the first thing every comedian does? They open up that thing, they pull out the check, they sign the back of it, they pull their phone out, and they take a picture, and they deposit it right then.
Oh, okay. See, whenever I got a check, it was like either you had, because this is back in the day, you would either get it cashed that night, or they would say, "Hey, can we give you half check and half cash, and you go, okay, that's something. Or if I didn't have to, if my flight was leaving later, my first thing to do is I go straight to the bank in the morning and cash that check or whatever their bank was, and then go get on my flight.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, I remember there was a guy in Canada once, man. His dad had bought him a club, and on the we were there 4 nights, and he could have done 2 shows out of the 4 nights, and that would have filled up the room because every other night was like, maybe 30, 40 people in there in a 200-seat room. And on the last 2 nights, the first show Friday and the first show Saturday were full, but the rest of the nights, nothing, basically. And that last night, everybody's looking for him. He's not there, and they're waiting and waiting. And so the manager starts calling, and this is how we knew we were in trouble, Mike. She goes, I'm gonna call him right now because he's supposed to be here. So she takes out her phone, she dials his number, and the club phone rings. Because he had rerouted everything to come back to the club. So you couldn't even reach this son of a bitch. And I was like, oh, shit, we ain't getting paid. And we didn't get paid, man.
Where's the shittiest condo you've ever stayed in? Worst condo you ever stayed?
Oh, one of the worst condos had to be Louisville, Kentucky had this haunted piece of shit they used to put us up in. And that was like, dude, this place, there's something going on here, man. You don't have to say Candyman 3 times because this is where he lives when he's waiting for somebody to call him. Okay. He's just sitting around waiting for the Candyman phone to ring. He's in his kill zone. That shit was horrible. And then the worst one. I think I left in the middle of the week and I got my own hotel room. It was in Ohio. They had an office set of offices that were connected to the comedy club. And you had to go through the kitchen, through these doors, and then you go back there, and they taken those offices and put beds and everything in there, but there were no windows. And
what the fuck?
Yeah. And what they would do is they put you in the back, and they lock the doors, like chain bolt or whatever, to the actual comedy club. So if you want to go out, you have to go out through the other side, the front of it, which was the front. It led out onto a strip mall, little street strip mall. So it's basically like an office building door that you would go in and out of. And dude, it was the most horrible thing. It's a bed on the floor with no frame. It's like just a mattress in the box spring. And
God damn.
Yeah, man. Nothing on the walls. There was a dresser there with the lamp on it, and that's where you're staying. And if you want to get some food, you just have to go out the front door and go to whatever restaurant that was close. And it was horrible. I just said, no, I'm not staying here. I think I stayed there like 2 days, and then I spent my own money and got my own hotel.
Damn, man.
Yeah.
I've never been in anything that bad.
I did another one up in Canada once, man, where as the guy drops me off, he picks him up at the airport. He drops me off at this hotel. Well, he didn't drop me off. He takes me in, he checks me in, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? I walk up the stairs. I'm on the second floor. I go down, and it's the middle of the day, Mike. But it's the middle of the day, and all the doors are outside. They're out where they open to the outside.
Right.
But my room is in a corridor. It's still outside. It's still open to the outside, but the whole corridor is just pitch black, and it's the middle of the damn day. It's like, let me guess, Dante lives over there. Okay. I hadn't been in that room. I had only been in that room about maybe less than 6 or 7 hours when there was a knock on the door. And I peek out, and it's a hooker. So, yeah, saw that you just got here. If you need any company, won't cost you that much. I'm like, what the fuck? Dude, I left the next day and went down the street and bought my own bought a room at a better hotel.
Man, I've never been in anything that bad. Probably one of the worst I've been. It was actually in Steamboat Springs.
Oh, I remember that place up the rooftop.
Yeah, they had fucking. It was so cold in the room for extra heat. They had hardwired into an electric socket an electric heater. Fuck. What
People
the
don't
fuck
understand.
Is that?
You remember George McClure?
Oh yeah.
Me and George McClure did a tour once through Missouri, and we were in this place called Mexico, Missouri. It's like you drive to hell, then you take a left, and it's that deserted popsicle stand down the street from hell. It's just this welcome to Mexico, Missouri, right? It was so that place was so bad. As we were driving in town, we stopped at a McDonald's, and the girl behind the counter going, "So you guys not from around here, are you?" And George's like, "No, we're doing a show at such and such a club." And this girl goes, "Oh, watch out for so and so. She's got the cooties." Right? It's like this is a grown ass woman saying that another grown ass woman has cooties. So we get to the club, and the guy's like, and first we're looking around, this fucking weirdest damn thing. He's got tree stumps that he's cut in half, and somehow they've either nailed or stapled cushions onto the top of each tree trunk, and those are the bar stools. Right?
This is inside.
This is inside. So he goes, let me drive you to where you guys are staying. We drive. It's like 20 minutes to get there, and it's the middle of nowhere. There's two mobile homes there, and he pulls up to one of them. It's where you guys gonna be staying, and he goes, if you want to, you can follow me back into town, but first, let's just turn on the AC because nobody's been in here for about a month or so.
Oh shit!
It's like 90 degrees outside. He's like, yeah, you might want to turn the AC on. You can follow me back into town. And I remember that night. You talking about worst shit ever? Okay. So George goes up. He's opening the show, and it's an L-shaped room.
Okay.
But we're working the small part of the L. So it's like 7 across, and then about 8 rows back, and then all the way, all the other shit is in the long part of the L. And the microphone is hanging. If I had my other mic, I could show you. The microphone is just hanging out of the ceiling like this.
Like a ring announcer?
Yeah. They have strung it up over the top and brought it in. And you're standing on the dance floor. And so McClure's on stage. Yo, Mike, this shit kills me to this day. McClure's he's not on stage, he's on the dance floor, and he says to one guy, he goes, hey, it's first time here. Yeah, you guys nice town. So hey, what do you do for a living, sir? He said, I'm a pig farmer. He goes, oh, wow, I got nothing for that. Nothing for that. He goes, what about you, sir? What do you do? I'm a pig farmer too. He goes, oh, wow. Goes, we're all pig farmers. The whole front row is nothing but fucking pig farmers. And McClure's like, all right then. That's the kind of shit that humbles you, man. And if it doesn't, then something's wrong with your soul. It can either drive you to go, okay, I got to do better, or you just go, let me just put up with this bullshit. So.
Yeah, but I think that's part of what makes us stories like that, sleeping in mobile homes, sleeping in these shitty places with prostitutes.
Yeah, man, those beds were like this, bro.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of shit that when you're picking the person up from the airport makes you look at them and go, that person puts up with shit like I do.
Yeah.
Because there's something. What is it about stand-up comedy that even though we put ourselves through that shit for what, $75 and 20 minutes worth of stage time in Mexico, Missouri, make it fucking worth it. Like, that's what's wrong with us. Like people listening and watching this will be like, what's fucking wrong with you people? And you're just like, no man, that's what I do.
It's the
like,
it's that you know what, it's like what do they call it, like a dopamine rush or something. It's that rush of I came up with this, they're reacting, because comics don't know what's funny. You know, people always go comics, but comics don't know what's funny. We know what's funny to us.
Sure.
We don't know what's going to make everybody else laugh. I mean, you've been on stage a bunch of times and telling a joke that you just wrote, and you're thinking, okay, they're going to laugh here. But then you're telling the joke and they laugh here. You're like, oh, okay, what just happened, right? And if you don't pay attention to that, then you just have ruined what could be a great thing. I mean, Chris Rock always says a lot of guys have great jokes, they just don't know how to deliver them properly.
Yeah.
And we've always said I learned from the old guys that there's jokes you're doing now that you won't even learn how to do until years from now. You know, and the greats will it takes them a year to go through, and even now they look at their stuff and go, man, I had other stuff I could have done with that.
Yeah. That kind of ties me back to something I wanted to get back to that you had mentioned earlier when you were talking about, you said you'd bring it back up. We talked about it, about the purist and how there was somebody who had talked to you about that. You want to go into that a little bit?
I learned, luckily I learned at a very early age. And when I say age, I'm not talking about our chronological age. I'm talking about how many years you've been in stand-up. Mm-hmm. So if you've been doing stand-up for 10 years, then you're 10 years old. If you've been doing it for 15, you're 15, doing 20, you're 20 years old. But I learned it at a very early age in my stand-up career, that you cannot be a purist, because what's funny to the audience is funny to them, and you need to do your damn job. What happened was there was a booker. There was a chain called it was through the South. It was a chain through the South. The comedy, they had a big chain through the Southeast. Brad Greenberg used to book them all the time. But what happened was I was doing a run for them, and I get this call in the middle of the week saying, "Hey, Saturday night, I think it was a Saturday night. It was in North Carolina. The Saturday night, you're not closing the show. You're going to be opening the show. It's only going to be 2 comics, but you're the first guy on." And I'm like, okay, fine. The money's still the same, right? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. So I get to this military base in North Carolina, and I walk in. There's all these big guys, burly guys as you're walking through. You're like, oh, this is going to be a rough audience. This North Carolina, it's a military base. Mm-hmm. And I get into the venue on the base where we're doing the show, and I see this skinny kid on stage, and he's got boxes and boxes of shit. He's laying them out on the stage. And my arrogant ass at the time was thinking, okay, well, I'm glad he's going up last, because then I won't have to step over all of his shit when I'm on stage. So I'm sitting there watching him set up, and just like we were talking earlier, comics recognize comics. He sees me standing in the back, and he comes running back in his big shock of red hair, and he's a skinny ass kid. He goes, "Hey, are you Lou?" I'm like, yeah. He goes, "I'm Scott. How you doing? Hey, we're gonna have a great time tonight." I'm like, "Yeah, man, let's do this. Let's have fun." Thinking, okay, he's fucking prop acting, blah blah blah. Man, that night I went on stage. I had it set. I didn't. It was not. I didn't embarrass my hometown. I had.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
This motherfucker named Carrot Top went on stage and proceed to get 2 standing ovations. At the end of his show, the lights are out. He's got flashlights and he's waving them, going, and that song is playing, "Ground Control to Major Tom." he's destroyed. And after that night, I went, you know what? I ain't never gonna judge anybody again for how they approach what we do for a living.
Yeah,
you know,
it's interesting when you said you were on one of these runs. It made me think of a question I've always wanted to ask you and also other old school Denver comics. And most people outside of Colorado might not know this, but I'm sure a lot of people have heard of it. So I was going to ask you, what is the worst run that you've ever been on, and why was it the Tribble run? Oh,
that's not even a good question. That's just the perfect statement.
Those runs were fucking insane, man.
Dude, that dude. I'm trying to find the name of that place. What was the name of that place? Oh man, Comedy Zones. That was it. It was a Comedy Zones down south. But the Tribble runs, man, dude. I think I stopped working for him when he got mad at me because I told him what I wanted for this week worth of gigs.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I knew what the money was. I know how much he was bringing in. And
right.
I said, well, I want X amount of dollars if you want me to do that tour. And it was totally feasible, but he was like, okay, well then I'll just find somebody else. And after that, never worked for him again.
Yeah, I mean, his runs were, I only did a couple of them, short ones. I never went way out because I mean, like you could leave Denver and he would take you like up into Utah. You'd be in Utah, and then you'd come across you go up like into Montana. But that gig was like 2 days later, so you had to figure out something to do for a day because you weren't going to drive from Utah back to Denver to go back to Montana.
Exactly.
And you were only getting paid in a hotel room the nights that you were there, and you had to commit to like a whole run, man. It was fucking brutal.
Yeah, man, those are brutal runs, man. Because there was no rhyme or reason to the routing.
Right.
It was just whoever wants to gig, and if they're able to drive there within a day. And that was the same thing that used to happen with Comedy Zone gigs. Same thing. You know, just the ones that had good routing, those are the ones that everybody wanted. They used to have a DC Beltway tour, which was great because you fly into DC, rent a car, and every gig of almost every night was along the Beltway. So you drive an hour, and you'd be at the next gig. Next day you might drive 45 minutes, and you're at the next gig. And next one after that, another 45 minutes. So it was just easy runs the whole thing. But Tribble stuff was like you said. Okay, Wednesday you're in Miami, and Tuesday, the week after that, you're going to be in New Mexico. But in between that, I want you to go to Rochester, New York, and then you're going to come down to Pueblo, Colorado the very next day.
Yeah, and it's $100 a night.
Yeah. It's $100 a night, but it's 10,000 miles on your car. So,
right, exactly. Oh man.
Yeah, man, and the driving. Remember the driving?
You know what? There's parts of it though that like nowadays I'm not traveling. One of the things I love about living in Chicago is there's so much work close that I don't have to do like long runs anymore, right? Like
you guys got beast mode comics up there too, man. There's some great guys up there.
Yeah, dude. There's some fucking Chicago talent. Yeah, the fucking talent coming out of Chicago right now is just insane.
I taped a TV show up. I taped a TV show up there once. Yeah.
Really?
With AJ Jamal.
Nice.
Did I do that show?
I
I did that show, yeah.
when I was doing some research for the interview, I saw that you had actually done an interview with like the Chicago Times in like '98 or something like that. When
Yeah,
you were going to be at Zany's, I think.
No, it wasn't Zany's. There was a
Oh, Jokes and
Jokes and
was it Jokes
Notes.
and Notes? Yeah,
Yeah. I
they
remember
closed
that.
down.
That was Oh yeah, man. I distinctly remember when they closed down because I remember what happened to me at the club, man. That was a rough week, bro. That was a rough week, man. Because George Wilborn was the opening. He was the house MC,
Mm-hmm.
and it was I forget the name of the woman that was there, but they brought me in to headline because of the Showtime stuff, and plus the fact that I have family ties in town. And before I got there, they were like, "Oh, yeah, it's gonna be great, and it's gonna be this and that, and this is nice." And I'm thinking, "Oh, this would be cool. I get to go home. I get to go to my dad's hometown, and his family's there, and I get to visit while I'm in town." And bruh, I stepped up into that club, and Wilborn got on stage and laid fire on the stage. And then the other woman, the woman that was in between us, got up and she laid fire on the stage, and it was just. With a black audience, it's a different beast. I've learned to work black audiences, but it's a totally different beast when you work them because there's a lot more topspin on the ball.
Yeah. I remember, like, I used to watch, like, I know my white privilege is showing, but I used to watch like the Def Jam, Comedy Jam and all that and everything. I remember the first time that I went to a black club to work. I was going for an open mic, and I was just like, I hit it. The vibe in that room is completely different. And
totally different.
And it's totally different. And the thing that it's the only black clubs that I've been to, every time it's like, there's no gray in there. They either love you or you need to get the fuck off stage right now because they're not having it.
That, my brother, is the truth. Shit, I got quacked off a stage once.
No shit.
Dude, yeah. This is back when they used to. It was oh man, was it Alabama? It was one of the places. It was either Alabama or Kentucky, but man, it was one of them southern states. But I go there and they used to fly the comics in. They used to fly the headliner in the day before the gig started, because they had you booked for radio the morning of the first show. Mm-hmm. Right. So I fly in the day before, and I see that the club is open. So I go over to the club, and it's brother night. I mean, and black people can't seem to have just one thing at a show. So the first section of the show was poetry slam.
Okay.
And then at the end of the poetry slam, there was like whoever the sponsor was that night probably had like, and here's our dresses. So they had some models come out and they walk and they model some clothes. And then it's comedy. Right. It's black comics going on. And once again, man, this was back in those days when I was, it was the arrogant ass bullshit was in my head. I'm in the back and I'm watching these guys go up for this open mic night, and they're just dying. So I'm thinking, well, shit, I'm headlining here this week. Let me go over here, talk to this MC, and I'm gonna go on stage, do 5 minutes, right? And wow everybody.
Right.
Yo, Mike. Brother. I get on stage, I do the first joke or whatever it was I was doing back then, and then it just started. Nothing. Slow dying, flopping fish death out of water. And I do the second joke, nothing. And then all of a sudden I hear quack, quack, and I'm looking in the audience. I'm like, is there somebody in here quacking? And I look out. This woman is sitting in her chair. She's like, quack, quack. So she was calling me whack. She was calling me whack, but she was putting the Q in front of it. She was like, quack, quack. And I'm like, and I said, man, I said to the MC, man, come get this damn microphone, man. I ain't doing this shit. And so I walk off stage, and all the other comics were there. They saw that shit, right? So they're like, okay, hey, but that was rough. I'm like, yeah, man, that was hardcore. So the next night is the first night of the regular club, but once again, it was brother night because it was another black radio station was sponsoring the first night of the week of the club.
Okay.
So every black comic in town had heard or was either there that night and saw what happened for me at the open mic night. So they were all in the back of the room just waiting because they're thinking, okay, if he fails, one of us can jump on stage and save the night.
Yeah.
Bruh. This is what being from Denver does to you. I had went home that night after I had bombed. I went through every piece of material I had. I'm studying my act. I'm like, that shit ain't never happened to me. And this is how I know I had a good set. When black people buy your CDs after a show, you know you've had a good set. And I must have sold about 9 or 10 CDs that night. And everybody's coming up and saying, that was fun. And then one of the comics that was there the night before, he was like, hey, yo, man, I was here last night, man. I saw what happened last night, man. I got to admit, man, a lot of us came out here because we thought, you wasn't going to be able to cut it. But you did your thing. So, yeah.
Man.
We get busted down and then we get brought back up.
Exactly. Hey, not to bring it down too much, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask you with everything that's going on right now. I know you got your show tomorrow with Lamont Ferguson. What time do you guys go live on that, by the way?
Usually at 6 p.m. Mountain Time.
6 p.m. Mountain Time.
Yeah, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. It's tomorrow will be. But we got a bunch of people coming up, man. There's always guest comics on there, man. So yeah,
that's good. Well, I know you'll probably talk about it tomorrow. Like I said, I don't want to bring too much down, but I'm just kind of interested with your thoughts with what Drew Brees said yesterday, and then coming back today and backtracking all of it and kind of eating his words and apologizing. Just kind of what you thought of his initial remarks. And are you buying the? I don't want to lead with the. Are you buying his apology? But was it an acceptable apology to you? I guess would be a good way to put it.
Well, man, the weird thing about me is that I've never had a favorite team. My favorite sports team is Sports Center. That's my favorite team is Sports Center. I never followed a team. So when I got up this morning, or should I say this afternoon, I got up this afternoon, and there was all these notes in the inbox, and then and I saw he was trending and all this stuff. So I had to take a look at it. I found what he said, and I just thought it was he still didn't get it. There's so many people that didn't get it,
right?
Because when Kaepernick first started his protest, he didn't get it. He had an idea of what he wanted to do. But until that one guy from the military told him, man, you sitting is just that's the most disrespectful thing. I'd rather you take a knee because at least that's more respectful. So he started doing that, and it was never about the flag. I mean, I have to say one thing. That's the beauty of Trump's and I can't say it's insanity because I don't think he's crazy. I don't think he's stupid. He's just willfully ignorant. But that's the beauty of his marketing is that he can turn that phrase to mean something else. Because it was never about the flag. It was about police brutality. And for Breeze to just, dude, these are people you work with. These are people you've broken bread with.
Right.
And you still don't understand why. And it's because, bruh, a lot of white guys have never had that talk. They've never had somebody sit them down and explain to them, okay, now when you're driving this car, when you're out walking, if you encountered a police officer or somebody in the law, there's a certain way you have to act. They've never had that talk. Never. And they've never been sat down and going, move slow, be respectful. I mean, come on, man. To go back to comics, there was have you watched all of Seinfeld's Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee?
I've watched most of them, yeah.
There was, to illustrate the difference in the way white guys and black guys view the police. There's one episode of that there's a moment that perfectly crystallizes it. It's Chris Rock and Jerry Seinfeld are in the car. They're speeding. They're zooming down the street. And Jerry's like, whoa, this thing handles great, right? And you see Chris's eyes like this, and you see him look to the side, and he goes, oh, there's a cop. He sees the cop, right? And he goes, hey, oh, wow, hey. And Jerry goes, yeah, okay, whatever, right? And, of course, the cop pulls him over. And to Jerry, it's just the funniest thing ever.
Right.
But there's a moment on Chris's face when you're like, fuck, It's like, you can tell. Because Jerry just discounted the whole thing. But Chris was like, oh fuck, there's a cop. Because we've all been in the car, man. Well, not all of us, but we've been in the car when you're not driving or anything, but the cops will come over and harass you. I'm like, I'm just in the passenger seat.
Right. Yeah.
What am I doing? So I've been in cars where all of us are like, okay, you got your hands up on you turn that dome light on, put your hands up on the dashboard, or either you put one of them or both of them out the side window, and you say, how you doing, officer? Everything cool? And they're like, and they, whatever they got to say. And I mean, to this day, I still will take my wallet out, bro. I'll take my wallet out my pocket, right? Put it up in the dashboard. Because I think that thing, that the little divot in the dashboard was made for brothers, made for black guys. So you can just take your ID and the license registration and put it right there.
Right there.
So you could just go, hey, it's right there, officer. If you want to grab it, you grab it.
I'm not reaching for anything.
Like Richard Pryor said, I don't want to be no motherfucking accident.
Exactly. It's funny.
I think what happened with Breeze was that I'm not 100% with him on his apology, because I think money has a lot to do with that too. And I know his backup quarterback had to be jumping up, grabbing the playbook, going, I know the whole thing. Let's go, right? So
I saw somebody tweeted that they said, I bet the Saints are wishing they held on to Teddy Bridgewater right now.
So yeah.
Like, I bet they are for several reasons. I try not to get too, I've always tried not to get too vocal about it, because I have all kinds of white privilege. I'm coming from Oklahoma, and I've, like a lot of my friends and family members back there, they just don't get it, and they get offended by the word white privilege. And I always explain it to them as, to me and to most of you, stop signs are a suggestion. We roll that shit all the time.
Yeah.
Like, because I've rolled stop signs in front of cops, nothing. Like, that's your white privilege showing through. That's how I explain to them all the time. Like, you don't worry about that shit.
If you don't get nervous about a police car driving either behind you or either coming up towards you as you're about to cross paths, if you don't get nervous about that, there's a certain privilege,
Yeah.
I
used to a little bit, but now weed's legal, so I'm not as.
Yeah, see,
I don't freak out as much.
You had an underlying reason. Plus, you were driving like 4 miles an hour, so obviously you thought you were doing the speed limit, but you're just creeping along.
Exactly. I'm just getting there.
I've never actually. being from Colorado, you would think that I would have done a lot of marijuana, but I haven't. I think the last time I did any kind of marijuana was in Alaska.
Really?
You just because all the dispensaries were up there, and just walk into a dispensary and buy something. And I was I never wanted to smoke anything, but I tried the edibles, and I had the sativa, not the other one.
Yeah.
A friend of ours, Mike Pace, he bought the indica. Mm-hmm. So that's the shit that puts you in the couch. I just wanted that George Carlin sativa stuff that kind of opens your brain a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was good, I have to admit, man. But
yeah,
working on the ships, you can't do it as much.
Yeah. See, and I'm an indica guy. I like to just go into the couch. And when I was back visiting in Colorado one time, I was visiting Deacon. We were outside his house, getting ready to go inside. And I was like, hey, man, I'm going to hit this real quick. But I needed to pack it all up. And it was indica. And he was like, oh, no, I got this stuff ready to go. Just hit it and we'll go inside. And it was like some hardcore, heavy, I smoke weed all the time sativa, not that relaxing shit. And I took like 2 hits of it. And then go inside. He goes to bed. I lie down on the couch to go to sleep. And I'm reading.
3 days later, you wake up.
Dude, I was reading the Carrie Fisher's book, trying to go to sleep. And like the words started moving. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, this ain't your daddy's weed.
He's like, that ain't that Chicago street shit, Mike.
And I'm pretty sure Deacon had the rough and raw stuff, man, because he was going through the pain. So yeah. Man.
That shit was crazy.
My brother.
Oh, it got me good.
You did the real. The real. I get scared, man. I'm like, I don't know if I really want to do it, man, because I know me. I have an addictive personality. I'll be there buying up all the cookies they got over there. So that shit in Alaska was nice, man. You're in Alaska, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. I eat one of those cookies, man, because they got them in a perfectly portioned thing, and they have gourmet cooks that make them and stuff. Eat that cookie, then like an hour later, you're just sitting there going, yeah, this Alaska's great.
I like Alaska.
And Alaska's great even without the weed. I mean, I think I posted a clip today on my Facebook page. It was a Throwback Thursday clip of when I was in Alaska back in 2011, one of the first times I was there for a thing called it was Icy Strait Point. It was the zip line in Icy Strait Point, which is, it takes you about maybe 25, 30 minutes to get to the top of the mountain. Takes you about 2 minutes to get to the bottom.
Damn.
Yeah. The zip line is taller than the Empire State Building.
Yeah, I'm doing that shit sober.
You're gonna need it, man. Dude, you get scared as shit. You see my video, you see me asking this little Indian guy, is this safe? Is this safe? He's like, oh no, it's just safe. We haven't lost anybody. Say your name for the camera. And then you're thinking, the camera? Is this so you guys can identify who's on the bottom of the hill? But that shit, Mike, it just comes straight down like a fucking hour. It's like less than 2 minutes you're at the bottom, and it's gorgeous. A gorgeous run. It's a gorgeous ride. I did it like twice, and I would definitely do it again if I ever go back up there. Beautiful.
That sounds fun. So before I let you go, it's been a lot of fun catching up with you, man. I miss you, and it's been great to catch up. It's good to see you. Man.
You got Colorado roots, so you that's like it's like a gang. You got jumped in. So
exactly.
You can't leave.
Yeah, I have to tell you. So I wanted to tell this story because this is the kind of person that I want people to know that you are. Uh-oh. So I was living in New Jersey, and we hadn't seen each other or talked to each other in probably a couple years. And I saw that you were coming through way down south in New Jersey. It took me like an hour and a half.
It was a tour with some guys, my guys.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the sellout or not, but it was. So I come down, I email you, and I'm like, hey, man, I see you're going to be south New Jersey. I'm out there. I'm going I'm gonna come check the show out. And you're like, great, I'll get you some tickets. You know, who's coming? I was like, it's just gonna be me. My wife's pregnant. She's not coming. She's whatever. And you're like, cool. I get there. There's a ticket there. I find you. We're hanging out in the back of the theater, just catching up. That. And you're like, all right, the guy's like, all right, it's time for the show to start. And you're like, all right, well, who's going to go up and introduce me? And he's like, no, you guys are just going to go up. And you're like, what? No, like someone's got to do something. Like I hadn't seen you in a couple of years. We had talked a couple of years, and you were like, Mike, get a microphone.
I remember
and just go do 5-7 minutes, something. Get these people warmed up. And you were like, wrote down like, here's our intro. And I'm like, all right, man. But you were just like, I appreciate that because it meant that I appreciate it not only because we're friends, but it also meant that you had like confidence in me and in my style to go up. Because I mean, it was, you know, it was a black crowd and it was an all black show. And, you know, like for you to have the confidence in me.
You already had the stamp, man. You already had the stamp. And that show with the tour that I had with those guys, we did that 7 years and those audiences were a lot different. And we had a majority black audience every now and then, but for the most part, it was all mixed crowds. But those, man, you had the stamp, bro. I wasn't worried about you.
It was fun. I appreciate that. I got home and my wife's like, how'd it go? I'm like, I did a set. And she was like, what? So, hey, before I let you go, I do a little segment on here called Ambush, where in this envelope right here, I have my middle daughter, who's 9 years old, wrote some words down in here. I have no idea what they are. You have no idea what they are. And we'll just see where it goes.
Okay. Okay, cool. The mind of a 9-year-old. This is perfect.
Yeah, exactly. All right. First word is drawing. Drawing. You like to draw, color? Do you do anything artistic other than your day job?
I used to love to. At one time, I wanted to be a cartoonist because until I saw somebody who could actually draw really good, and I was like, okay. I just got my little advanced stick figures here. You know, I found I got my old art books in the other room. There's some good drawings in there, but for the most part, it's like no, right?
Is it something that you still do, like to relax or something like that, or are you a doodler?
I mean, I don't doodle as much as when I was younger, man. I think what I do to relax now, man. I'm still a gamer, you know. Although I haven't played any video games, any real video games in months. I mean, I got some shit on my tablet that I'll do, but the laptop I'm talking to you on right now it's a gaming laptop. I bought it because I could travel with my video games. I just bring an Xbox controller and plug it into the side of my laptop, and it works just like an Xbox. And it keeps my suitcase small. And so it's great. This is a great little laptop, but I don't doodle as much as I used to because I got all this other shit we do that relaxes me. You know, comedy.
Exactly.
Like I said, I watch a bunch of comedy. Like I don't know if you remember BT.
Oh yeah, I remember BT.
Me and BT watch more stand-up comedy specials than anybody. We even trade notes on the ones that guys are releasing on YouTube now. Like I'll send him a link and he'll send me a link, and we talk about, were you able to get through it? No, I wasn't able to get through that one, or else that one was great. That one, there could have been a little more work. We trade those kind of notes. And BT has a show, by the way, called Tales from a Gemini that's on YouTube once a week.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, so it's a good show, but that's
is it motorcycle heavy?
The first I saw the first 3 episodes. I'm on the 5th or 6th episode, which means the other 4 or 5 episodes were all motorcycle. Because he used to write for a motorcycle magazine.
Well, I didn't know he used to. I know he's huge into them. I didn't know he used to write for
man,
them.
He's flown over to Italy and he's flown through the Godo bullshit, all that stuff, man. He was heavy into that, bro. And he still is.
I'll have to check that out. What's the show? Tales from a Gemini?
Tales from a Gemini. And you can actually type it into YouTube and it'll pop up.
Okay.
So yeah, but yeah. So that's what I, instead of drawing now, I watch specials and mess around on the internet. You know,
Yeah.
it's a good time. Some little bit of gaming. Yeah, I want to start gaming again. I got to get a new controller. Shows you how much I was gaming.
All right, let's see what we got. Next word is paper. Paper. Are you? I asked. We had a similar word the other day. I'd like to ask you this: when you write, are you a type it out on your tablet, phone, keyboard type of person, or are you old school pen and paper?
Oh man, I like old school pen and paper because I agree with what I think Deacon said it once was the connection between here and here, you
Mm-hmm.
know, is and it, to the paper, it works out better for me, and I have to learn how to write differently, you
Yeah.
know. And I used to be that guy that would you write a joke, and then you skip down a couple of lines, and you write the next joke. But now what I do is I'll write the joke and then I'll just turn to the next page for the next joke. Because what I'm trying to do is force myself into filling the rest of that page.
Yeah.
Because I learned from Matt Berry and Steve Steitch, um, Vince Curran, a bunch of those guys, a bunch of the old school guys that founded Denver Comedy, McKelvey and the rest of those guys, was that you never close a bit off.
Yeah.
Because you should never think of it as finished. So I write like that now when it's so I do stay with the paper and with pen and paper, and yeah, I mean shit. That's even now, man. I still do that. My son bought me a bunch of moleskins, right?
Nice.
So and
That's
now
good fun right there.
yeah, now what I've done is I do a different thing now with the writing is what I'll do is
Yeah.
I'll write and then I'll write one sentence and I skip down. I leave a line in between.
Yeah.
In between it's like I don't know if you can see it. It's like
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
there's a
yeah.
line in between each one, right? Because
Yeah.
I was watching Titus once, a thing of him on YouTube, and he was talking about comedy and he said once we start talking about comedy, you know it's not going to be funny anymore, and he's right.
Right.
but it's he said what he does he leaves that line open because when you read back through the story, you're going to find a beat, and wherever there's a pause, a beat, or something quirky, there's got to be a joke there somewhere if you just look for it. So,
Yeah.
but you need that space in order to write the joke in there. You don't want to have to be scribbling little bitty lines. So I leave that space so I can write extra stuff in between that might fit it.
I'm gonna have to start doing that because I don't know how many times I've fucking like you'll go back like I'll open up my notebook, I'll be reading a joke, and then there'll be an arrow coming from like down at the bottom.
Yeah.
So because I'm like, oh, that goes there now. Okay, like
yeah,
it's all over the place. I like leaving that.
I found some old notebooks, man, where I do that. It's like I used to do. I still do it on the ships, but I used to do this thing about uh, 48 double F. I saw this woman on TV and she had 48 double F, right? And in the notebook, I could see what happened was I saw that on one of the talk shows. At the top line of the page, I just wrote 48 double F, and then in the next line, it's a different pen, different ink, and you see there's more to the bit. So it gradually went from the one line about 48 double F to
Mm-hmm.
all this other stuff that went with it, you know, and but all of us need to aspire to you know what Rock and Seinfeld and Carlin did. I mean, I think when Carlin died, they said they found 2 hard drives worth of stuff that he had written that
Yeah.
he hadn't even released yet. He was just working on these bits. It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Carlin he was still writing with pen and paper, but he said he had 2 screens,
Mm-hmm.
and there'd be one screen is the stuff he's working on, and there's some other thing over here, and he could start making a connection between the two. He goes, okay,
Yeah.
I got a thing on microphones here, and there's a thing over here about electricity. Okay, let me bring that over here, and each work a way to put them together, and just And and speaking of writing, Talking Shop. There's a show called Talking Shop. One of the best new writers I've seen in decades, Mike. His name is Anthony Crawford. He did an interview with Deacon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and David goes through and explains his writing process. In fact, I might have to find that and watch that tonight, because it is even today I still learn stuff from him. So it's
what's it called again? Anthony Crawford?
Anthony Crawford, and the name of the show he did is called Talking Shop.
Okay.
And Deacon is one of the guests on one of the shows. In fact, they had to add video to it because he has a whiteboard up and he explains formula. And it was just fucking beautiful the way he did this formula for a joke. But he started with using an advertising company as an example of it.
Yeah.
You know how if you're gonna do a rooster, they draw the full rooster or whatever it was, and then you try to draw it with less detail. And what you're trying to do is get you're trying to get the least amount of lines, but still make it recognizable as that.
Right.
Which is what we do in comedy. All the while we're trying to build time, we're trying to tear down time.
Right. Yeah, I remember one of the things there's tons and tons and tons of things that I miss about Deacon. And for people who are watching and listening, Deacon was my first comedy mentor that then turned into one of my best friends that I've ever had. And one of the things that I missed about him, I really miss is one of the things that I hated about answering machines going away is I would come home and I would have 3 voicemails on my answering machine from Deacon of him just trying out jokes. Like he would just leave a joke. Like he would just call. He wouldn't say, "Hi, Mike. Hi, Sherry," anything like that. He would just be like, "Hey," and he would read out this joke, and then he'd be like, "All right, I'll talk to you later," and just hang out.
Oh, that is the best, man. That is the best. Oh, that's great. Shit that you wish you could have back, right?
I know, right? You know what? When I think about it, when I say it out loud, you know what that was? That was Twitter.
Exactly.
That was Twitter.
You know, you wish you could keep stuff like that. There's only been one story of a guy I know who I don't know him personally, but everybody knows him. He was able to keep a special moment like that. I don't know if you ever Billy Crystal used to he worked with Sammy Davis for a while.
Yeah.
And Sammy, whenever he brings Sammy out, Sammy would always have a different story about how him and Billy met, or a story that happened with between him and Billy, or whatever. He would just make up. It was all bullshit. They're all bullshit stories. But he would go, yeah. So I was in the hospital. I had a little do thing, and Billy showed up. He came in. He said hi, and he made me feel good. And let me tell you how I feel. He would go into the and Crystal said he recorded all of those, and he still has those.
Wow.
So for you to get that from Deacon, man, just imagine if you could put a reel up of Deacon just reading all these jokes to you. Okay, talk to you later. It's those
That'd
moments.
Be great.
It's a moment like that, man. And I just, man, great stuff, bro.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Well, hey, man, thanks for hanging out and talking with me for a little bit. I really appreciate it.
Sorry to blow through your time with that. I know you had a timeline, but
dude, I haven't stuck to the time. I haven't stuck to the time on any of these, it is what it is. So I know you got the thing on Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 p.m. Mountain with Lamont Ferguson. That's live on your Facebook page. You got anything else you need to promote or want to talk about? Or
not right now, man. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm probably gonna do a YouTube release at some point. Because I record everything. I know I'll listen to one of your talks with another guy. How you record everything, and I video everything.
Yeah,
I video all my shows. So I've got maybe 10 to 15 years of tapes and unlike you guys, I would actually watch them within 48 hours.
You were watching. I can't watch that shit, man.
I watched you guys talking about how I should watch them. I should listen to them. And I'm just sitting there going, motherfucker, turn it on.
I know. I need to watch them.
Dude, I found if you don't watch them or listen to them within 48 hours, it's going to be a while before you even get to it.
Yeah, my phone, when you open it up and look at like all the audio recordings I have in there, I've got all kinds of shows. I mean, I've got tons and tons of shows in there. And
yeah, that's why what I'm going to do is I got it on my vision board in the other room. I'm just going to go through, and you've seen some of the crowd work clips.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just going to put out I got the software here, and I got other software online that I can use, and just put it all together into like a 30 to a 45-minute thing. And I'm just going to do a release on YouTube, call it It's Crowded in Here, and it's all,
nice.
It's all crowd work. And what'll happen is I'll come on before each clip and explain what's about to happen and then go into the clip. So, and I can do that. I can do maybe 4 or 5 volumes of those of different crowd work moments, because I always wear a mic. That was the one thing I learned a long time ago. Always wear a mic, because people don't mind watching like a really kind of crappy looking video, but they want to be able to hear it.
Yeah.
So I have been through several Bluetooth mics. So a lot of my stuff, you hear it, and it's really clear, and you can actually hear the person talking to me. Like there's one clip called "My Mama Don't Like Him." And you can, it's 2 women. She's a woman with her daughter, and she don't like her daughter's husband, and she don't like her daughter's boyfriend. She has both of them at the same time. And you can hear it. I say to the mom, "What's wrong with him?" She goes, "I don't like neither one of them motherfuckers." Right? You can hear her clear as day. So yeah, I got some good ones. I'm going to put them all up on, I think, it'll take me about a couple weeks to do it, but we'll see, man. We'll see how it goes.
I'd watch it. Go while you got the time, do it before you get back out there and start working again. So
yeah. If I just do volume, I do volume 1 and volume 2, volume 3. Just keep putting them out now. So, because I got material, but these are spontaneous moments that will never happen. Like some of the shit that we've talked about, bro. That just between me and you during this conversation, it will never happen again, because we can never recreate, like that. Like when I say to you, remember George McClure? It's like, remember George McClure? All these people.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, so many people, man. Mike Pace and Roseanne
Barr
and Don Becker and Vince Curran.
Man.
Remember Becker lay down in front of the train tracks, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy how many people we know, how many comedians are out there, how many do it.
You remember? Were you there? Were you around that time when Becker tried to kill himself?
No, I wasn't there.
It was rough.
I wasn't there.
Just like comics, though. Just like comics, we always got this fucking dark sense of humor, man. Deacon always said, comics there's no space between the tragedy and the joke for us.
Yeah. I remember when I felt like I had finally made it in the Denver comedy scene. I got invited to PJ's poker game on Monday night.
PJ O'Rourke.
Yeah.
Man, I cried when that brother, man, when he died, he killed himself.
Yeah, that was hard. But I remember when he invited me to his poker game, I was like, oh shit. Like, man, because I was like, because I wasn't headlining at the time. I was just, I was emceeing. We're trying to work my way up into the feature. I was at the feature, and I think part of it was they just wanted to take my money because those fuckers could play cards. Like they were, they were good.
I never went to any of those games. I don't think I went to any of those games, but I heard about them. Yeah.
Oh man, there were some good games, man. They were good. So, yeah.
You were stamped, man. You
I love the Denver comedy scene. Exactly. I love the Denver. I wore just for you tonight. I wore my Comedy Works.
There you go, man. I actually have a Wits End jacket when they were giving out jackets to the comics. Yeah,
man, I remember
crazy.
I talked not last night, but the night before. I talked to John Novosad.
Oh man, one of the best to ever do it, man.
Amazing. It was. Yeah, he is amazing. So there's so much good talent in Denver. There always has been, but like the talent coming out of there now that's coming up and everything. One of my favorite comedians is actually
you should do Eugene Kenny's show.
Yeah, I should reach out there because I know he and John are doing that show together.
But you should do the interview with Eugene. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday he interviews comics, like a 30-minute show. You should do that, man, because you guys would get along great.
I'd love it.
Yeah,
I should reach out to him. One of my favorite comedians right now that not a lot of people know of, which is a crying shame because he's hilarious, is based out of Denver. Mike Stanley. Do you know who Mike Stanley is?
Yeah, I think Stanley. I think he's about to move back though to where is it, from Detroit or something like that?
Detroit, yeah. So he started in Detroit. Yeah, he started in Detroit or in Michigan. Came through Chicago. Was here in Chicago. Got really big here. Blew up a little bit, and then I think he went back to Michigan and then out to Denver.
Had one of the best shows here in Denver. He had a show called Thick Skin, which is it was a beautiful show. That's one of my favorite shows in Denver, man. It's like comics could get it, the staff could get it, the crowd could get it. It didn't matter anybody in that room could get got at any time. They could get put down. So yeah.
Was it Matt Cobbs that ran that show with him? I'm not sure. I don't think it was. Matt Cobbs, I loved him.
You mean it was a Cobb as a Kobos? He was Kobos, yeah.
Kobos. Yeah.
Yeah, Matt Kobos. Fuck yeah, dude.
Yes. Yeah.
Every time I see him, I just go, fuck yeah, dude. I know he's getting tired of me saying that, but every time I see him, fuck yeah, dude. But
another really.
It wasn't Kobos. It was Greg Baumhauer was running it with.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And, that's right.
And the two of them together. Good God, man. Oh man, I think they used to say shit. I was sitting in the back and just laugh my ass off because they were raw.
Yeah, because I never got to get out and see one, but I've seen like a couple of clips of it that they've uploaded onto YouTube or Facebook, and I was just like, fuck, man.
Yeah, man.
Like when people come up and show their bad tattoos. Oh gosh.
Christy Buckley was up once, and they were saying that she's a great comic, but she's a founding member of the Crips, something like that. It said something about her disability. It was just the meanest shit ever, but it was funny as hell. And I was there one night. There was this woman came through, and she thought she was the shit. You know, I got to do. I can only do like 4 minutes. Okay, this is bullshit. Whatever, I'll do it because I normally do like 30 to 40 minutes. I'm from whatever town she said in California, whatever. And she went up, and yo, Mike, she died the slow flopping death of a fish out of water. And Stanley and who was it? I think it was not Brent. I forgot his name.
Gill?
Not Brent Gill. It was another guy, but. Stanley and the other guy went up and proceeded, huh?
Was it Talent? Same Talent?
No, but it was another guy. They proceeded to roast her. They roasted her so bad that she grabbed her coat and her husband and she left the club. This is before the show was even over. So she might have, after her show, she might have been there only about maybe 10 minutes after her set was over. She only stayed for another 10 minutes because they roasted her for like after every comic, they were just coming back up. But after she went off stage, they must have sat there for 3 or 4 minutes just fucking dogging the shit out of her. And it was justified.
Yeah.
That was a great show.
Yeah, I hope It sucks that I'm not going to get to see it because of circumstances and whatnot. But yeah, like I said, it's good to see you. Thanks for hanging out. I'm glad you're healthy. I'm glad your family's healthy. And we'll need to do this again soon for sure.
Yeah, man. Just let me know, man. I'll hook you up with a couple other people you can interview too, man. Talk to Lamont, talk to the sniper, as I call him.
Yeah.
I think you'll enjoy that. Yeah, man. Just let me know, bro. And you got the stamp. You got the Colorado stamp, man. I'm all about.
I appreciate that.
And thanks for reminding me about that story. I forgot that I told you he might get up there and do some time.
All right.
I forgot all about that. That's fucking great, man.
Yeah, man. That was awesome. I needed that too. It was great. Well, thanks, man.
I think doing this right here helps us too, man.
Yeah, exactly. This is the kind of stuff I've been referring to this, not only with my friends and everybody that I've been interviewing, but also with my family. Like, I consider this my wellness check, not only for myself, but for my buddies. Like, make sure everybody's doing okay. We need to, we're going to come through it. We're going to be better. We're going to be stronger. So let's laugh and have a little bit of good time.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing to do, man, because you can justify being in a room alone, and not touching yourself. So
exactly,
you can say, I was in the room doing the podcast. I wasn't in there watching Pornhub.
Exactly. I finished that already anyway.
Exactly.
All right, Lou. Take care. We'll see you soon, man.
Respect, man. Thank you, bro.